Welcome back to AutoTechNick, and today we're working on this 2009 Ferrari F430 Spider, and we're going to be addressing one of the more common and chronic problems that these cars suffer, and that is broken taillights. So we have an absolute gorgeous example of a F430 in the shop today. This is a 2009, so a very late production 430 Spider, and this car actually happens to only have 7,000 miles. So it's a very clean, very low mileage car, but that also kind of just proves to the point of how chronic of a problem this is, because a car that's late the production, very low mileage, it still suffers from this problem. Now, really, at the core of this problem, it's an issue with the material that Ferrari chose to make these taillights out of, and also the way they mount. Now, it really gets amplified by the fact that the engine is a 4.3 liter flat plane V8, so it's going to have quite a bit more vibration back there, not to mention all the heat of the engine back there coming back, affecting these taillights. There's a lot of distance from the taillight here to where they mount back here, so there's a lot of leverage. So if you combine the vibration, the heat, the bad plastic, it's just guaranteed that at some point these taillights are going to fail and break. Now, you can just go through and install new factory taillights, but I can tell you that that is very cost prohibitive. They are well over $1,500 for one taillight, so that is a very expensive solution by the time you address all four. There is aftermarket taillights you can replace them with, but in this instance, this owner is very OEM, wants to keep everything original, so we're going to have to find a way that's cost effective and economical to salvage and save these taillights. I will say that this car had 2 broken taillights out of the 4 taillights we have back here, and it's one of those things that anytime I get a 430 in the shop, I'll come through and I'll just give the taillights a gentle wiggle right here, and you can see that they're nice and sturdy. And this right here is what you're going to see when you have a broken taillight. This one's a little extreme, but there'll definitely be more play to them once they're broken. I have already addressed the broken taillights on this side, so I had one broken taillight. I popped them both out, I fixed where it was broken, and I actually reinforced everything, so there's an additional mounting point, and there's essentially no way that these are going to break again. This is a lifetime fix that we got taken care of. These ones are all said and done, so we still need to get these 2 taillights out, so that way we can make our modifications, get our repair done, so that way we can install them. They're nice and tight and they don't wiggle. I'm going to pop those out. I'll get them on the bench, that way I can show you guys the failure points, and I'll show you the repair and modifications that we're going to be making. So that way, they can live a long, happy life in the car without any wiggling or play. So the taillights are very easy to get out. You just need to remove these side rear panels back here. So there's just some mounting hardware here, here, right there, and 2 smaller ones down towards the bottom. And then there's 3 mounting bolts per taillight. They're 10 millimeter. You can come back here, just get those removed, slide the taillights out. You can see our wiring right there. So pretty straightforward, only takes a couple minutes to get the taillights out, and I have them over here on the bench, and we can see right here that this is the taillight that is not broken, and you can right here you can see this is the lower mount right here and the upper mounting points up here at the top. And this is what I was saying, where there's really a lot of leverage on these mounts, where this taillight is just kind of left to vibrate, and that fatigues the plastic and causes it to fracture and break. So these mounting points will break either down here at the bottom or up at the top. There's really not a lot of rhyme or reason on the exact location where they break. So we'll come over here, and this is the taillight that was broken, and you can see that we have a broken bottom stud. Our upper stud is good. So here is our broken piece right there, and I hope I can get you guys in. You can see that there's some fractures right there in the plastic to where it is cracking and breaking in a few other areas. So I have seen where a lot of people will take these and glue these or epoxy these back on, reinstall the taillights. Maybe they'll put a big bunch of glue around the outside of that base to reinforce it, and that will work. But again, the problem is this plastic, and it's more likely going to break again at a different point. So that is something that I just try not to really go down that route, because it's not a permanent repair. So if I'm going to have a customer come in and charge them to fix a taillight, I want to be sure that it's permanent. They're only paying me to do this once. So I do not do that. I'll show you guys what I do here in a second. Now, on the other taillights that I had on the car, I mentioned the other one that was broken. You can see this is the upper mount, and you can see where it fractured right up there, clear off the top right up there. So I can't show you in the taillight because I already repaired that one, but I had one of each. I had one with the upper mount that was broken off, and we have this one right here with the lower mount that's broken off. And then we had 2 taillights that were not broken whatsoever. So what I like to do is picked up some aftermarket brackets here that basically replace all the mounting points of the taillight. So this is the upper section here that's going to completely replace this entire piece up there with a much better and more robust plastic. And then we have this bottom piece here, and you can see that this, we're able to slide over the existing stud, and then it's going to bond here to the body of the taillight. And you'll now notice that we also have 4 mounting points with this provision. So there is mounting points in the car for all 4 spots, not just the 3. So we're going to have an extra mounting point, and you can see there's a lot of surface area here, the way it cups the taillight, and that's really going to help us in the long run where we won't have that same issue with fatigue. We have a lot of surface area here to get this mounted up onto the top. And I'll show you, I popped out one of the other taillights that I've repaired, and you can see here is the finished product. So you can see how that wraps all the way around. It's very nice and clean. We have our mounting points there. And then up here at the top, you can see that I have removed all the original mounting and ears and adhered our aftermarket piece here. Now I will say that these mounting brackets did come with the hardware to install them, but the thread pitch was actually different from the factory thread pitch, so I decided not to use them. Also, it had Allen bolts that went in here and a backing nut to lock that bolt in place here. And then we'd install those in the car, and by the time we account for the thickness of this plastic and that nut, it was adding close to a ½ an inch of length on the taillights. I did not like that. So I replaced the hardware with a 6x1.0, which matches our factory thread pitch of our factory studs. That way I can use all the same factory nuts. And then you can see that I have the nuts bonded in place here on the back side, so that way we don't have to use those nuts on the front side. And I can tell you the product that I used here, I'll show you guys in a second. It's robust. It's not going to give on us. And I did the same thing up here, just filled the cavities. So I actually put my epoxy around the shaft and underneath the head of the bolt, slid the bolts through and actually tightened them down, and then backfilled the back side of that. So I did that ahead of time, and that's just me being fussy and picky. I didn't like the hardware that it came with this, and I also didn't like the extra thickness that it added, so I just took a little bit of time and made that all work. So you can see it's much more like a factory setup here. Now to bond everything on, this is what I'm using. This is a 3M panel bond. This is a industrial auto body grade material, and this is really their aggressive stuff. This is the 7333. You can see impact resistant structural adhesive. This stuff works fantastic. You do have to buy the tube. It's maybe 50 bucks a tube. You do have to have the gun to dispense it and also the specific tips. But this stuff is really great. I love having it around the shop because it adheres really well to plastics, fiber reinforced plastics, metal, fiberglass. You can almost glue almost anything back together with this stuff. It really works great. It's very strong. And so that's, I mean, it's overkill for what we're using it for, and it has a nice, good, strong bond. We have our brackets here. We have the 2 taillights. What I will need to do is I need to get the taillights prepped. So I need to get this section right here removed. I'm going to take our taillight part number sticker off and relocate those because we don't want to get that covered up. And I also need to prep our surface here because it's so smooth. There's also this ridge here that I'm not going to have very good mechanical adhesion with this surface here. So I need to get that prepped. We need to get this cut off, and also these pieces prepped and located. So I think what I'll do here is I will probably, let's start on this taillight here. I'll probably get this all cut off and everything prepped. I'll bring you guys back so that way I can show you what I did to prep it and really what is involved with getting this stuff removed and ready to have our brackets glued on. All right, so we have our upper mounting tab cut off and the taillight prepped, so you can see that I have actually scuffed all the surface there. I got rid of that ridge that was sitting there. Nice clean top edge where we cut off our upper mounting. To cut this upper mounting off, I just used my Dremel here and a small cutoff wheel and just carefully cut that. I'll show you guys on this one. Just kind of come in along the side here and cut it. And I'm careful not to get into the lens there. And once I get most of the way there, I'm able to just bend it and break it off. So we can get that out of the way. And then to prep the surface, you can see here, it gives it some nice bite. I switch over to this carbide bit right here. And I also use the back edge of this, show you guys, just like that. And that's how I can work it down without getting into the clear part of the lens and clean that edge up. But then I come through and I get off any ridges, scuff all that up, and you can see that I've scuffed the inside. And then we have our new pieces. Again, the same thing. I come up here, I get them all scuffed up. I do set these in position and make marks so I know where the scuff, so I'm not overshooting. You can see there's a little bit of silver Sharpie there. So I got that taken care of. And it's the same thing on these right here. Lots of scuffing and cleaning, so that way, again, that panel bond has a really good, strong bite. This one is ready to go. I'm not going to do anything with this mount. We're just going to glue it back on like that, so there's really no prep that needs to be taken care of there. So I need to get this one cleaned up. Again, we'll have to get that ridge removed, get all, you can see all the dirt in there. We need to get all that cleaned out, get this scuffed, get the top piece up there cut off. You can see that label right there. We're going to relocate that. I mentioned that earlier. I just peel them off and stick them on the back side till I'm done. Then I'll re-adhere them once we're all finished up. So I'm going to work through, get this last one prepped and ready to go. Then I'll bring you guys back and show you my process for getting these bonded onto our tail lights. All right, so we got both tail lights all prepped. All of our surfaces scuffed up. We've got some good abrasion, so we're going to have a good mechanical grip. All of our reinforcement brackets, they're all prepped and ready to go, so we're set. We're ready to get this stuff bonded on. You can see that I put some tape around the perimeter of the light just to be sure that nothing gets on there. Really, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Again, you have the special mixing tip. I will take this, and for these lower ones, I'll apply it directly here to the tail light. But then I do use this acid brush to smooth it out, and that way I get an even coat without too much excess. That's one of the things. I don't want to have a bunch of squeeze out. I don't want this to look ugly. I want it to look professional and very nice. So that way if these taillights ever come back out of the car, it's going to be respectable and look good. That's important to me. On these pieces here, they're pretty much self-locating because we have the benefit of this other stud and the way they just kind of fit in up against the existing tail light. So once I get those on and in position, I'll just take some of our blue tape there and I'll just tape those down. On this one, since we have a good stud, I might take a nut and run the nut down to hold it tight, and that's all we need to do there for those bottom pieces. So that's pretty easy. This one's going to be a little trickier. If I was a little smarter, I would have proactively bonded this piece back on ahead of time, but we didn't. So we're going to bond this piece on. Same thing, get our tape that's in position. Now on these pieces up here, they kind of only want to sit in one location. The way the contours work, they pretty much just have one resting spot where they want to sit. And again, I'll do the panel bond on there. I set them in there, and then I use these clamps basically over it just to hold it in position. And that works really well. And then I have here is a template that I made off of the old taillights before I modified it, and I can set this on here, and that helps me determine the correct height of this upper bracket right there. So once I get these all on and in position, I'll be able to show you how this works, and that just ensures that I'm getting this set at the right height in relation to this down there. I need both hands to get this taken care of. It's not terribly exciting, but I'm going to get my adhesive mixed up. Just squirt it out on the tip. Like I said, I apply it directly onto here. On these pieces, I'll apply some onto there. You can see I have a mixing board here where sometimes I'll squirt some onto the board. And again, just use the acid brush. I'm not trying to have this stuff ooze out and be everywhere, but I also want to have enough on where I have full coverage and good bond for all these pieces. So I'm going to get these all put on. I'll bring you guys back and show you once they're all in position with how these clamps are and the little jig tool I made here, and get these taillights repaired up real quick. So we'll see you guys back here in a second. All right, there we have it. We have them bonded in. You can see I just have them taped down here on the bottom. This one I was able to put the nut on to help hold it tight and in place. I'm not able to do it on this one because that stud, we had to kind of bond it back on to make do. Like I mentioned, if I should have did this ahead of time, but I just kind of forgot to get to it, so I didn't. And then these upper pieces, you can see that they're just clamped on there with those clamps. Like I mentioned, these really just want to go on and fit in the one position. And for a sanity check, this is what I was talking about. I can set this up there and I can make sure that they're sitting at the right distance. But the way that the tail light curves on the inside in these pieces, they fit real nicely. So we got both of those on. We're going to give this 24 hours, let this cure and set up. And once that's done, I'll have all the tape pulled off of it, take our clamps off, show you guys the final product on the repair on the taillights. And then we'll get them back into our 430 and we'll have no more loose rattling taillights. So I'll see you guys back out here tomorrow once those are dried up and finish up this repair. All right, here's the final product, and we have all 4 of our taillights repaired, reinforced, and ready to go back into the car. And I will say, I mean, it came out really sanitary, really nice, and that's what I was looking for. I really want this to be something that if somebody else down the road removes these taillights, they can look at it, see that we made the repair, but they're not going to look at it and wonder, the heck was going on here? I take a lot of pride in my work. I do the best that I can to make it look factory and original and intentional. And well, this is obviously, you know, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's a million ways you could put these brackets on, how you choose to execute this. And I just wanted to show you guys how I go through and execute this and the reasons why I made those changes. You know, part of me kind of wants to get a 3D printer and kind of make my own brackets here because there's some changes I'd like to make that I think I can make some improvements. These ones are pretty nice and I'm happy with them, but there's a few tweaks that I think I would make if I had some for myself. Maybe that's a project for later on down the road. But now that they're all back together, I got all my labels stuck on there the best I can, doing the best effort we could do there. So now that our taillights are all repaired, everything's cured, I'm going to take a second and get them reinstalled back into the car. And I'll see you guys here in just 1 second. All right, the taillights are back in and checking out our finished product, and we can see that these are nice, all very tight, secure. And another thing to note on these is we have an even reveal all the way around, and I have these taillights sitting all at the same angle. That actually takes the use of some washers that you have to shim on the mounts on the back side. That's how they are from the factory. You add or subtract shims from the top of the mount to the bottom of the mount to get that nice equal reveal all the way around so they're symmetrical and getting all these faces sitting on the same plane. So that's all taken care of. Our rear panels are back into the car and the pesky annoying taillights on this 430 are fixed. So pretty easy repair, not too in-depth. Obviously, you could choose to go about it however you like. If you really want to go all out and use some reinforcement brackets like I used, or if maybe you just want to pop them out and epoxy them back together. 100% subjective. Once they're repaired, you can't see once they're installed into the car. I just wanted to run through and show you guys how I like to do it and really what my preference is. And the taillights are going to have a long life now. Saved the customer a bunch of money. Didn't have to buy any new taillights. Pretty minimal expense, a little bit of labor, got them taken care of. So I think that's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate you guys' support. You know the drill. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, drop a comment below. As always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.